So I just wanted to elaborate. I just think that a lot of times we only have a certain amount of information, and it's very tempting to make a black and white picture. Well, I think that the execution of George Floyd was definitely a crime of a serious crime. And I really hope that the perpetrators, the police officers, will sit in prison for a long, long, long time. However, I think it's important when we teach the lessons of George Floyd, we should learn all his history, including the robberies and drug, and how he attempted to rehabilitate his life, move to a new place. He really tried, I think, from what I've heard anyway. And I don't think I don't think it's okay that people misuse this information against him. And I've seen in the memorial people writing, he pointed a gun at a pregnant woman, he did this. You know, it's very easy to just take a bit of information and make it into and distort something. I can't tell the whole story, but I think this is a more complex story. I think his execution has nothing to do with his life story. It's not, there's no excuse for what happened to him. However, I think it's important to examine the tragic life of George Floyd, how he tried to get out of a life of crime and how he was not allowed to do that, not allowed to do it because this forged $20 bill, because he was a convicted felon in another state, probably that probably was brought to the attention of the police officers. I don't know if it was or not, but I can imagine that after attempting to rehabilitate himself, it might have been quite difficult for him to see, oh God, here I go again. And just don't understand why people don't tell the full story, why we have to live black and white lives. And I do not appreciate Al Sharpton, this reverend who's very much against people coming together. He's separating people into black and white. And I don't understand why his Caucasian white fiance was not allowed to say anything, was not involved. And I think it's not okay that we think that George Floyd's life only mattered to black people. We can see the demonstrators are ethnically diverse. You can see people coming to these demonstrations from all genders, ages, whatever. Uh, every ethnic group, minority group is represented, I think, what I could see. So let's tell the whole story how a man attempted to start new, and then it's a tragedy because he really tried to, and to open a new page in his life, and instead of that, he ended up um, being executed. He didn't even get a trial. He just like, for something so small, he was just like executed by these horrible police officers. But it's even more tragic when we know he was a convicted felon. So all those that are writing in social media, he is a convicted felon. He's a convicted felon. Yes, but just because you sit in prison and you have a record doesn't mean that you shouldn't get another chance. And nobody deserves an execution. This is why in countries like U.S. and in other democracies, everybody deserves a trial. And he wasn't. It wasn't like he was a terrorist. He wasn't robbing this store. He was just caught with this counterfeit $20 bill, and then the way he was treated is such a horrible example of police in America for so many people. But it's even worse when we know that he was a convicted felon that deserved an opportunity to start new. Everybody deserves a second chance. Everybody. And except for a crime like openly executing a man, that I wouldn't give them a second chance. There's certain crimes that are so horrible that, you know, you just don't see any point in giving a person a chance of getting out of prison. I mean, I can't imagine these police officers get out of prison. People that actually didn't mind seeing somebody die in front of their eyes. I wouldn't want to walk past them, would you? But certain crimes, people should be able to, serve their time and then come out and start new. Um, this is what I have to say about it because it wasn't like he was a mass murderer. He wasn't a pedophile. He wasn't like, it's not like he murdered someone. So why didn't he deserve a second chance? And why don't we look at that claim instead of bury him, see how tragic his life is and how probably very typical of many African Americans who really fall into a life of crime because they grew up in difficult circumstances, and it's important to address that. And when people write it on social media, he was a criminal, yes, but he tried to get out of it. He tried so hard, and then the way he was treated was so humiliating and so pathetic. But yes, definitely talk about George Floyd. Discuss the fact that he was a convicted felon, that he did try to to open a new chapter in his life, and why was that possibility taken away from him? And and it is very indicative probably of African Americans in America and how they're being treated. But then again, we saw the 75-year-old man who was knocked down by police and left to bleed, to lay there on the ground. I mean, it just seems to me that America is moving towards a very bad direction. And let's hope that